Hey folks, this is Josh, Stoney Ridge Farmer. Welcome to the farm vlog today. Today we're going to be working on our John Deere 750, and this is the tractor that we got in a big purchase. We bought 3 tractors at one time, and we've washed the tractor up. We've got it all cleaned up. Today we're going to change out the hydraulic fluid. We're going to change out the air filter, kind of crusty, not so good. We're going to change the air filter. We're going to change the fuel filter. We're going to service this thing, get it right so we can sell it. So we want to make it look good. We want to make it run good. We want to hand it off to somebody in excellent condition, okay? So it's got a little bit of rust and a little bit of crust here and there, but it's still a good tractor. It has about 550 hours on it on a 3-cylinder little Yanmar diesel engine. So come along today. We're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to get this thing serviced. We're going to get it right. We're going to get it where we can sell it. And if you look at that tire, it's on backwards. A lot of you guys have pointed that out. So we got to go get some new tires. I've already ordered 1 new tire for this side, and I'll show you the old tire. It's all crusty and rotted, and the front tires are all crusty and rotted too. So this tractor hasn't been used much, but it's set out in the weather. And guys, it doesn't hurt the internals so much, but boy, it really hurts the external of the tractor. So we got a new seat, we got new tires, fresh oil change, fresh filters, and we should be ready to rock. I already checked the antifreeze and it looks absolutely great, not leaking, no leaks whatsoever. This tractor has been parked inside my garage here for, I'm going to say 4 or 5 days, and not one drip of oil. So a very dry tractor, very cool little tractor, something good for a small landowner like 4 or 5, 10 acre guy. And it's going to come with the bush hog on the back too, so a little brush cutter. I think it's a 4 or 5 foot brush hog. Anyhow, let's have some fun today on the vlog playing with this tractor. And be sure and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned, because we got the old Ford tractor we're going to be servicing. We'll take you around it and show you it. We're going to be selling it. It's a 27 horsepower Ford 1720, and we're going to be servicing the John Deere 310 backhoe, and you'll get some good footage of that backhoe at work hopefully soon. We want to dig ourselves an old school well house, so that if the power ever goes out, if we ever have to go totally off grid, we'll have a nice cool place to get fresh water, and a nice cool place so we can store all of our cold stuff like milk and stuff like that. So eventually we'll be milking cows and goats and having a whole lot more fun on the farm. So guys, come along, let's have some fun. Playtime. Woo! So we'll go ahead and start with the simplest, least messy thing, and that's changing out the air filter. And here's the air filter box. Basically, we're just going to unscrew the air filter box. Let's see here. Come on, baby. Has a little clamp right here. And this is labeled top. Out with the old air filter, and the new air filter looks much, much better. I wasn't going to change the filter because these things are really expensive, but it's crusty. We want to make it right for the next guy for sure. So we'll get rid of that guy. We'll probably put him back in the box just for the next owner, so he'll have a reference of what kind of filter to get. Probably smart. And then we've got our new filter right here, so you can see the difference in the new and the old. Huge difference. So we'll slide the new filter in, and it's tight, a little bit tighter than the old one. And these things have these little ribs on here, little wedges. I don't know what exactly those little ribs are for. The filter doesn't spin inside the cartridge. So guys, post me a comment down there. Tell me what these are for. Is that to disturb the air, or what are they for? I don't know. We'll go ahead and get this guy installed. Pretty simple. Nice and snug, not too tight. Then we'll put our cover back on the proper way. I want to put it back together in a way that's easy for the next guy. I'm going to go ahead and get my label maker out, and we're going to put what date it was changed and how many hours was on it when we did change it. Cool? I'm going to geek out with you real quick. This is my label maker. If you guys are looking for a good way to keep track of your machinery, I recommend this little label maker. I'll post a link down below. I'm not trying to sell you a label maker, but buddy, when it comes to maintaining your equipment, you need to be organized, because you'll totally forget. You can't keep all that stuff in your head, and you're just wasting brain space. So we'll go ahead and make us a label for this, and it tells how many hours. We're at 565 hours. Now I'll put a sticker here, I'll put a sticker on the oil filter, and I'll put a sticker on the dash panel for when we change the hydraulic fluid, okay? The hydraulic fluid is probably the most likely thing to forget, so we'll be sure and make a nice label for it. Super duper handy to have one of these guys. If you really want to geek out, you can label your sock drawer too. Push the button, boom, label is out. Now, I'll stick this right here, but I'm not going to stick it all the way on, and I'll show you what I'll do. And that way, the next guy isn't screwed with a label that flops off and all that stuff. So I'll put it basically across there, and I'll leave half the strip on so it can be easily peeled off. So folks, what this machine has is a Yanmar 1.3 liter diesel engine. It's a 20 horsepower engine, and we're going to go ahead and pull the plug here on the oil. I'm going to say the oil hadn't been changed in, good gracious, look like a monkey got a hold of that. I'm going to say that the oil hadn't been changed in somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 or 5 years, something like that. The tractor set out, and the way we picked these up was a friend of mine's uncle passed away, God bless his soul, and left these tractors. And these tractors have been sitting out on a yard, basically a storage yard, for quite some time out in the weather, and that's why they kind of have, they've developed, I don't know, they've just weathered, I guess. So we'll go ahead and we'll pop out the oil plug. I'll get you a close-up of what the oil looks like. When I check the oil, it looks pretty good. It doesn't look bad at all. It looks like it had a fresh oil change before it was parked. So, but nobody wrote down the hours on the oil filters. I don't know how many hours is on it, and I don't know how many hours is on this oil change. So let's do it right. I'll take this off and I'll show you what the oil looks like, and we'll show you replacing the filter, and then we'll move on to the fuel filter, and we're going to show you the gross fuel that was in that fuel filter. It was just gross. This thing was sputtering and all kinds of stuff, and I'll show you what I drained out of the old fuel filter. Okay, for the sake of filming, we've already cracked this loose, and I got to be careful. That's why I have my gloves on. We'll let this loose right here and see what that oil looks like. Yeah, it's black, but it's diesel. This is our junk fuel and oil bucket for the day. There's going to be a lot of fuel and oil in here. So while I'm waiting on this to drain, I'm going to set my little plug. It's got some silicone on it, so it may have been a source of leak at some point. We'll go ahead and we'll loosen our oil filler cap, and look down in there. Look how clean that is. It's clean as a whistle. No gunk whatsoever. So true hours on this tractor is about 565. Get this guy drained out. We'll go over here and we'll pop the filter out. Guys, before we pull the oil filter off of this machine, I wanted to let you know, this is what I use for changing oil. I have an oil change bin, and inside this bin, I have everything that I think I'll need for oil changes. I have, for great old big hydraulic filters, a great old big pair of channel locks. I've got a little transfer pump right here in the Ziploc bag. I've got everything I need, funnels, measuring funnels, everything I'll need to change oil. I keep this clean inside and make sure that whenever I get ready to change oil, all I have to do is open up my oil change bin and go to it. Just a little piece of advice to help you get organized in your shop or in your backyard. So right here is my oil filter, and I didn't have an exact match for it, so I have this cool little universal job right here. I'll post a link down below if you're interested in one of those, and we'll pull the filter off. Very, very simple. Before we pull the filter, we're going to move our bucket underneath here. We're going to have some clean rags. That way we can wipe everything clean and not make a huge mess underneath here. Simply enough, this universal filter wrench just goes right on there. And we should just have to give it a light turn. Yeah, it gets it. We can pop it off and get it by hand. Got my bucket down here, by the way. And inevitably, I'm going to spill some oil all over the garage. It's just kind of my thing. Okay, well, it looks pretty good. We'll pour it out here. Alright, so we've got 4 quarts of oil to put back in, and we'll take our clean rag and we'll wipe around the outside edge right here and make sure it's nice and clean and pretty. So basically we'll take our oil filter and we'll dab a little bit of oil right around that little gasket right there, and then we'll screw it in, and we'll only screw it in hand tight, okay? So we don't want to over tighten, don't want to gorilla grip it, just hand tight. So I got it tight, basically hand tight. I'll take my clean rag and then I'll give it a good turn right here. And you can see I put the oil, the type of oil, the brand is Rotella T4, 565 hours and the date. And that way if they want to change it every year or every 2 years, they can do it that way or by the hours. So I've drug my yuck bucket over here. I call it my yuck bucket because it's just full of yuck. And we'll go ahead and we'll take apart our fuel line here so we can drain this fuel tank. This is one of my, I did a video on this in the past, but this is one of those Klein 11-in-1 screwdrivers. Super duper duper handy for doing anything like this. I keep one on all my vehicles, keep one handy all the time. So I'm going to kink the fuel line here a little bit, pop it off the top of the fuel filter, and we'll drain her dry. We'll make a mess and we'll drop, oh my goodness. So I dropped the I dropped the clamp down in the fuel, in the yuck bucket. Lord, where are you, buddy? Oh, there it is. It's well lubricated. That's how you make your tractor shine. We'll let this thing drain a little bit and I'll show you what we pulled out of the fuel filter. We had a little sputtering issue with the tractor and I figured out what the sputter issue was. See if I can get you a close-up of what this looks like. Not too bad. Fuel looks pretty good. Just let it all drain out of here. So what you need to know is that diesel fuel is lighter than water. This is what was in the fuel filter. That is horrible. Look at that. That pink is the fuel, and this is the muck that was in the filter. We unscrewed it. We had a little sputtering issue going on, and we unscrewed it, and that's what came out. So lots of good fuel in there, but we're going to drain it anyway. Make sure there's no trash, no fuel. Hopefully I'm not wasting, what is it? It holds like 4 gallons or 5 gallons of fuel. So also oil capacities and transmission fluid and fuel capacities, all that stuff's available online, so we know what we're doing. We're going to put 4 quarts of oil back in this while the fuel is draining out. So what we have here is a measuring funnel, and it measures up to 1 quart. So what we'll do, this takes 4 quarts according to the specs, so we'll fill it up and we'll put 3 quarts in it, then we'll check it, and then we'll add oil until it's full. So we got a little plug down here. We'll pop our little plug off and try not to spill oil all over creation. Alright, and we'll go ahead and turn her on, and our oil will drain in. So this is 1 quart. We'll do this 4 times and try not to make a huge mess. Very, very handy tool to have if you're going to be doing tractors and stuff like this and you're pouring out of a large container. So we bought our oil in 5-gallon buckets, so this makes it a whole lot easier. And I have a transfer pump, but if I've got a measuring device, I can know exactly how much oil I'm putting in. I'd rather do that than measure it taking it out. No fun to measure oil taking it out of a machine. Alright, down here checking the oil, and it just barely registers right there on the dipstick. So we'll go ahead and we'll put the last quart in. And we're still draining fuel. It's a lot of wasted fuel. I think when this guy parked these things, he filled them slam full with fuel. And you know, when you let a vehicle sit and it's full of fuel like this, water just accumulates in it. Diesel tractors are made to be used. You let them sit and they accumulate water. There's less humidity in the fuel than there is in the air, and therefore the humidity will pull to the fuel. So that's why you have a fuel water separator. That's what I'm told anyway. There's a fuel water separator on this tractor. It's an aftermarket fuel water separator. So this guy was really meticulous about maintaining his equipment. We did the right thing. We emptied out all the old fuel. We'll put our fuel line back together. Best way possible here. Go ahead and get it snugged back up. Now we'll empty out the hydraulic fluid, and I got to figure something out. There's a lot of hydraulic fluid in here, so I got to figure out how to get it all off. And we've got to change out the fuel filter canister. So let's do that first. Then we got to pop the wheels off, take them to the tire store, and get the new tires put on, pop the wheels back on. I've got to move the new tire over to this side, and we're going to adjust the bush hog up. So I was going to try to squeeze all these tractor services into one vlog, but I wanted to show you each one individually. So you'll get to see a good overview of what we got here. Very nice tractor though. So here's our fuel filter canister, and it's an aftermarket fuel filter setup, and basically it has a little drain on the bottom. I'll show you. This is the new fuel filter, and boy, I had to go through a few struggles to get the new fuel filter. I picked it up at my local auto parts store, but this little dude right here on the bottom was broke, and that's how you drain the water out of the fuel filter. So what we're going to do is we'll basically unscrew this fuel filter after we put our yuck bucket underneath. We'll unscrew this guy and get diesel fuel all over us again and have a bit of fun. So unscrew, lefty loosey. There we go. It's still got a bit of yuck in it. A bit of nasty in there. And here is our new fuel filter. We want to make sure that this is snug, nice and tight, and we're going to get a bit artsy here. So I poured some diesel fuel. Oh, let's make a mess too. That'd be cool. Oh, let's make a mess. I'm going to refill this guy with diesel fuel so we don't draw air into our system. Now he's full, and I'm making a mess. It's okay though. Alright, it's on there good now. And this one is We're gonna snug it down with our rag. Nice and hand tight. Not gonna go crazy gorilla. I think we're doing the right thing here, guys, making sure that the next person gets handed a tractor that's ready to work. There's a lot to getting a good full service on a tractor, so we spent, I'm gonna say, in the neighborhood of 150 bucks on just materials to service this tractor. And then tires are probably gonna cost us another, I'm gonna say 200 bucks. All right, let's get up under here and let me show you what we're doing underneath the tractor here. So we went as far as to inspect all of the little grease fittings, and we had to replace that guy right there. There are several grease fittings around through here, and what we'll do is we'll lubricate all those grease fittings. We have a transmission drain plug about right there, so we'll pop that off. It takes 15 quarts of high guard transmission fluid, and that's hydraulic transmission fluid, this stuff right here. It's expensive. It's a lot more expensive than the stuff you can buy at your local farm store. It's like 68 bucks for a 5-gallon bucket. That may be a good deal, I don't know. But we got to put, I think it's 3.5 gallons or 15 quarts back in this machine. And it's got a little dipstick. I'll show you that and show you how we check it. That ain't as young as it once was here. All right, let's see if we can figure out what size we got. Most everything here is metric. I think it's a 17, yep, 17 mil. I'll put that 17 mil on here. Big old gorilla got that one. Whew. Say a prayer that I don't drop that nut, that drain plug, down in that bucket, so I don't want to fish it out. That's a lot of oil going into that thing. Whew. There we go. Oh, yuck. Yeah, that's some yucky fluid. We'll get you a close up in here. So that's the fluid that's draining out of here, and it should be a light gold color, almost clear. And it certainly doesn't look like that. It's clearing up as it's draining out, but yeah, we need to replace that for sure. All right, nice and loose, and don't forget to tighten that guy back up. Okay, slide our yuck bucket maybe out of the way. Reach under here and wipe everything nice and clean. There we go. Get her hand tight. Get a wrench on there and snug her up. There we go. Don't need to be too tight. Now right here's where the transmission and the hydraulic fluid goes in. And this is our little dipstick right here. So we want to clean that all off really good. Clean off around where the dipstick came out. We'll put this in a nice safe place where it won't get contaminated. We'll wipe off. I've got some tub of towels here. We'll wipe off the edge so no contaminants get down in there. And we'll go ahead and replace this fluid. I'm going to have to use a pretty tall funnel to get in here, and there's a lot of fluid to pour, so hopefully I don't make a big mess. So for this job where I have 15 quarts to pour, I have a big pouring container basically, and this thing is designed for filling large containers. Now I probably could have used this for the oil and just put 4 quarts in it and poured it over in, but we're using this specifically for the high guard transmission fluid. Okay, so we'll pour the hydraulic fluid in here, and this takes 15 quarts, and we'll get her full. You can bet that I'm going to pour some oil on the floor of the shop. Glug glug glug. Oh yeah, look at how pretty that new fluid is. Pretty cool. Alright, so our transmission slash hydraulic fluid is all full and ready to go. We'll go ahead and tighten our cap back down. We'll fire the tractor up and we'll get it to optimum running temperature, and we'll check it again and make sure everything is just right. Now the final thing we're going to do before we crank up the tractor is we're going to go ahead and lubricate all our little grease fittings. We have a lot of Zert fittings around. We washed the tractor really good, so we want to make sure we got plenty of grease in all of our little fittings. There's one right here, and I'll show you one of them right down here in the front. So we've got one right here that serves to lubricate the axle. Now I've got 2 of these grease guns. One of them has a flexible tube and the other one has a straight tube. So we'll probably have to use the flexible tube for this. 2, 3, 4 squirts of grease until we start seeing grease come out. Now I know all you old timers are saying, man, that's too much grease. Well, I'm going to wipe off the excess grease, but I want to push out any water that might be in here, okay? Alright, only a couple more cool tools I'm going to show you. This is a adjustable wrench that has a vice grip built into it. So you just tighten it up like a regular adjustable wrench. I'd never seen this before, that's why I'm showing you. And you clamp it down like a vice grip, and you give it a turn, and you break it loose. And it does a great job. So Just broke up this old plug right here, and I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm going to change out the oil inside the gearbox right here on the transmission or gearbox of the bush hog or brush cutter. This is a county line brush cutter, so it's kind of an entry-level brush cutter. So this bolt has a little blowhole in it right there, and it blows out the side. It blows oil out the side in case the transmission here gets too awfully hot. There are two plugs in here. There's a top plug, there's a bottom plug. We're going to pull the top plug and we're going to suck all the oil out. Then we'll open the bottom plug and refill until it pours out the bottom. Put both plugs back in and the oil is changed. Pretty cool. Slap some oil in this thing. I'll pour about half a quart in first to get started. Oh, and there she is. She's running out the bottom. There we go. Get rid of our oily rag. Long life metal preservative. Alright, we're going to take the old girl to the field up here and we're going to try out the bush hog and make sure that it cuts okay. It passes the I Can Mow test. Now we got to go get the tires and we'll slap them on there and I'll show you the end result and we'll tell you what we're selling this little tractor for. We're going to put it up for sale for $5,250. We'll probably take a little bit less than that, but it's a good little compact tractor. Much better than I thought it was going to be. Pretty happy with everything. So let's go get the tires and put a little more money into this thing so it's right for the next person.